And we are live. Welcome to another live stream with myself, Troy Francis, James Tusk in Caracas. How you doing?
Cracking one off in Caracas. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. The Caracas in a nutshell. There are hot girls here, but it's not obvious where they are. They're hiding online, and they're occasionally in random bars, and they're in the gym, but they're not around the streets. They're not around the malls. So
Yeah.
it's been a bit of a kind of treasure hunt for them. So overall, Caracas is probably what you'd expect it to be. Actually, a lot of the hot girls did go to Colombia, so a lot of the hottest women we always meet in Bogota are Venezuelan.
Yeah. God, have left already.
I think so, or it's just when it's a bit like Brazil. Brazil's a bit of a weird one because in the day you don't tend to see hot women, but if you go for a night out to a particular club or you go to gym or whatever, you'll see loads of hot girls. So it's a bit of a Brazil, bit of a Sao Paulo. There is talent here, but it's not obvious where it is in terms of the cold approach stuff we like to do. So this is what I've hit on a few girls in the gym, but it's kind of, do I really want to dip my pen in the company ink routine because it's the same gym I'm going to every time. I'm not moonlighting between different gyms, so I'm a bit like, oh, do I really want to? Is it worth making potentially? But I'm only here for another few days, and I go back to Colombia, then off to Brazil. So maybe it is.
How long do you then spend in Colombia? Are you in Bogota again, or what's the?
Just for 4 days, and then Brazil until end of March, and then rejoin force with you, obviously for the Edge 3. Bonanza Bogota, 4 to the 7th of April. If you've got sign up, lads, get stuck in. It's a magical place.
Yeah, so the Edge is open now. We've kept it open due to popular demand. A few guys weren't able to get in last time. The previous deadline because, their pay hadn't come through, all that kind of stuff. So we've kept it open. The course actually starts on March the 15th anyway, so we've got a bit of time. So we're keeping the enrollment period running. But obviously, particularly for the boot camp, because we're doing a boot camp in Bogota in Colombia, which is at the beginning of April. And you'll get to join us there and run around and do loads of crazy shit. And we'll be doing lots of shadow side kind of game, going to some of the, slightly less off the beaten track kind of clubs and parties and things there, which is going to be a lot of fun. There is also actually the opportunity to if you aren't able to make that, but you can do Europe, you could also do some training with us in Warsaw. And I think there's something else there's also Helsinki later in the year. But the big one really is Bogota, and that will sell out. So if you want to get into that, you need to get into the Edge program, which is open now. So the link's below. I'll put the link into the chat while we're going through the stream, but you need to just jump on board basically because, there are very limited spaces, certainly as far as the boot camp is concerned.
For sure. I think we've got 5 spaces, 10 remaining.
Yeah. So, oh, that's the wrong one. Is that the wrong one? Yeah. So, but anyway, so on this, we were going to be talking about the good bad boy, which is like a kind of perennial favorite topic of ours, really, isn't it?
Well, no one really seems to be able to distill this correctly. There's the myth of you've got to, and we see this happen so many times with guys where they're these perennial nice guys, and then they think, right, to be the bad boy, I've got to be a complete arsehole now. And it's almost like years of pent-up rage. They swing the pendulum back the other way. And they start acting like a total prick, which is not a bad thing in some ways because you have to almost go too far, swing the pendulum too far, using this bad analogy, to then come back to where it should be. But where they go overboard is they start treating men, their friends, maybe their family badly. And it's not about being a total lone wolf arsehole at all. It's about basically putting your own oxygen mask on first and being a bit more ruthless and selfish with what you want. So selfish with your own needs. And in terms of dating, what you want, whatever that is in a dating context, that could be a new girl in your bed every day. That could be, a long-term relationship. That could be, group stuff you want to get into. But really figuring out what that is and being shameless about chasing that, owning it. And basically being less nice. And what that comes down to is basically stopping people pleasing and being authentic. So if a girl oversteps your boundaries, I was having this conversation actually with one of our long-term clients, Mr. G, we'll call him, based in New York. And we had this conversation about, there was a great analogy, which kind of led into this, which was he was on a date with a very hot, instant date from Day Game, very hot Italian-American influencer. She had about 30,000 subs on her Instagram, very low following amount, was a model. And what happened was he said he took her for an instant date, I think a coffee, and every 5 minutes she'd pick up her phone and basically just start like scrolling through, and he'd have to grab her attention back. And I said to him, at what point, Mr. G, did you call her out on the behavior? And he goes, I didn't. And that's a classic sign of a guy who's basically trying to be nice to women, people please, not having strong boundaries and not calling them out on it. And I said, okay, that's interesting. I mean, and he goes, yeah, I'm ruthless in business. So I'm known as the guy in business who always calls people out. And I said to him, look, the business world is ruthless. The sexual market is even more so. So you've got to leverage those principles you use in business into the sexual market. Just because a woman has a pussy and tits does not mean you should be allowing bad behavior. You've got to take this kind of adult masculine amuse mastery role where you're always having fun being playful with her, almost treating her like a kind of, you don't really take her seriously. She's a girl. You know, you're always having fun bantering, but absolutely like a firm parent. If she oversteps the mark, you not in a butthurt, angry way where you lose your shit, because that also demonstrates lack of emotional strength, which is going to put women off. But being very clear and calmly saying, hey, look, if you don't put your phone away, this isn't going to work. I'm going to go. And if she oversteps the boundary again, gets out the phone again, then you're willing just to walk out and walk away. And that's exactly his problem. Sorry.
Yeah. Was he saying that was happening then on this particular day, that she was just doing that kind of shit?
Yeah, every 5 minutes, you know, and it's about calling girls out. Girls want to be called out. If you don't call her out for that, she's going to be like, this guy doesn't have the balls to call me out. He lacks self-respect, because everything we want from other people, we have to internally generate. So if you want respect from other people, you have to have high levels of self-respect. If you want love from other people, you have to have high levels of self-love. If you want acceptance from other people, high levels of self-acceptance. The world, according to Wes Watson, which I agree with, operates as a mirror. So Gary, in this context, in a dating context, lacks self-respect. He's used to women trampling all over him. He wants to play the nice guy. But unfortunately, as we know, playing the nice guy doesn't get you laid. Women think it's weak, and weak men, in an evolutionary sense, because we're just hairless apes, we're not the winners in life. So you have to be prepared in a calibrated way to not stand for, in a dating context, female disrespect. And that's really the biggest, turning point. I think one of the biggest grabs from the bad boy that good guys can have, which is just valuing your time and your attention, your energy as your most valuable assets, and not letting a girl defile them. And just because she's hot doesn't give her the right to take the piss with your time, doesn't give her the right to disrespect you. That's you saying you're more important than me. If you treat them like a celebrity, they will treat you like a fan, goes the old adage. And it's true. You have to see yourself as better than her, and playing that dominant masculine role of controlling the situation and having clear boundaries, and not being afraid to just calmly, call it as it is, and be able to walk away. And if a girl keeps disrespecting your time, you just walk away. If a girl doesn't want to jump into your frame, because you have to hold the frame as a guy, you walk. And so this is the conversation we are having in a minute. It dovetails nicely onto this conversation, which is, it's not about being a total arsehole, but it's about giving yourself high levels of self-respect. As Jordan Peterson said, treat yourself like someone you care for. And in that context, it's about calling people on their shit, men and women. But particularly with dating, we see a lot of guys who may be quite tough, quite alpha in some sense. They're a CEO or they're in the armed forces. They're very tough men with men. They're fucking weaklings with women, and they don't have the balls to stand up to them. So it's not about being an arsehole. It's about treating her like a child. You're this adult masculine amuse mastery energy, but it's absolutely a bit like disciplining a child. You call her on her bullshit. And I guarantee you, if guys start doing this, they'll see a marked change in their results with women, because women will suddenly either get lost, which is great if she doesn't respect you, or that will massively build the attraction she has towards you, because she'll be like, oh shit, this guy doesn't stand for my shit. Because women are so used to, in this wokosphere era and pussification of men, especially a hot young girl in her prime, she's so used to men just simping for her, doing anything they want to get her attention and be with her, even like soaking up her female energy. So a guy, if you want to be one of those top 1% of men, you have to be willing to call girls on their bullshit and also walk away. It's not just call them on it. It's the ability to call them on it, then walk away if they keep disrespecting you. And this is a never-ending process. The second the tests start from a woman is when you open your mouth, when you approach her. And the second it ends is when you die and leave this mortal coil, or when you break up. The test never stop. Don't take it offensively. A lot of guys who don't get this are offended by female testing. It's not. It's value testing to make sure that you're the same thing that you present as. And with cold approach, where we're presenting a very ballsy version of ourselves, stopping her in the day, giving her a compliment, flirting, she's going to test you throughout the date and throughout the latter stages, because she wants to know that you're actually this confident motherfucker you present as, right? So guys, don't get offended by a woman testing you. If she's not testing you, that's a bad thing. She's either a pro, or she thinks you're gay, or you're buried deep in the friend zone. So a woman testing you is a good thing, but it's understanding how to pass these tests and not stand for her bullshit, which I think, again, this is something a bad boy, quote unquote bad boy, wouldn't, he'd stand his ground. He doesn't give a fuck what people think, this archetypal bad boy. And it's about being ruthless with your time and your attention, your energy. That's what it really comes down to in a nutshell. You can filter everything in terms of the behavior you should be manifesting with women through that filter. And it's really that simple. It does take practice to take it from the theory to the actionable, but it's that simple in my mind anyway.
Yeah, I think that not giving a fuck, I think is central to it, isn't it, really? It's not, and again, this is where it differs from I'm just a complete asshole. It's more like I'm just so focused on what I want to get, the things that I want to do, that I'm not going to let anything get in my way of that. And if somebody's being rude or they're being uncooperative or whatever, I'm going to call them out, or I'm just going to distance myself from that, right? Because you're so super focused on your own shit to the exclusion almost of everything else, that you just naturally, you're not going to tolerate kind of bullshit. Having said that, like we've said before, obviously the way that people get caught up with this stuff is that they'll start acting in that way, but guys will start acting in this way, but with everybody, with their friends, with their mum, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like you've got to pick and choose a little bit. There are certain situations, there's certain alliances. You're gonna let it. You're gonna relax it a little bit. This stuff tends to work particularly well with women, and particularly well in today's dating marketplace, because women are, as we know, very entitled, and they've got so many options and everything else. So we need to be as ruthless as a hot girl will be with her time and who she tolerates and who she lets into her life. We have to be as ruthless ourselves with our time and who we're going to allow into our life and the kind of behaviors we're going to allow around us.
100%. I think one of the key mistakes guys make is they listen to what you said there and they take it the wrong way. So we're at the level where our time is better spent just disengaging from women, but you have to go through the process, the uncomfortable process of actually calling women out. And guys want to skip this part because it's uncomfortable. So you can't just be the zero fucks given guy. If you've always been too nice to women, you can't just be like, well, if she disrespects me, walk away. You've got to go through the phase, a bit like we get guys to approach. The first 100 approaches got to be direct approach to put their sexual intent on the line. This has to be, I've got to stop being nice and actually get used to calling women out on their bullshit, which is uncomfortable for a lot of men if they've never done it. So it's not about being butthurt and shouting and screaming. Remember, one of the key tenets of attraction, of character attraction, one of the character attraction traits in men for women is emotional strength and resilience, right? So unbreakable, this kind of internet meme, unfuckweathable, nothing anyone does or says can affect me. But you can't just walk away if a woman starts disrespecting you. You've got to actually get used to calling her on stuff, because if you're in a long-term relationship, that's the hardest game to play, right? And women will test you. And if you're not used to calling women on their bullshit, eventually most men want to settle down with a girl or have something more substantial. You're going to be fucked, because you're not going to understand how to do it. So me and Troy play an easy game because we're jetting around the world doing what the fuck we want. We can just disengage, and it's not worth our time getting some argument with a girl, generally speaking. But for the guys that are too nice, you absolutely need to stand up for yourself and stop being so nice, stop being such a pushover. And I think this is a big mistake.
It's definitely hard mode when you're in a long-term relationship, for sure, because that's when it gets uncomfortable. Because like you said, I mean, it's not a question of, well, you're kind of dating casually so you can just leave, or you can just, get on a plane and fly to a different country or something. It's like you're actually in this situation with this person. And that's when a lot of concessions tend to get made during the course of the long-term relationship. You let things slide, et cetera, et cetera. And it can be very hard then to break out of that, or to start to assert your authority or reassert your authority, which is why if you are getting into a long-term relationship, I mean, if people are watching this and they're already 10 years down the road, well, good luck. I mean, you're going to have to work on it. But if you're getting into one, it's very important to set the frame correctly from the beginning.
Yes, it is. And I guess for most guys, the focus should be on how to play the good bad boy in just a very fleeting dating context, shouldn't it? Because most
that's
men,
mainly
again, Well,
yeah, that's mainly what we're talking about here, obviously, isn't it? Because obviously, guys, generally speaking, are watching the content because for the dating side of things. So, yeah, in a dating context, it's very important not to be a pushover, to be a bit of a challenge, to be somebody that is probably not too predictable as well. She doesn't quite know where she stands. You haven't just given away all your mystery on the first go, and you don't put up with bullshit, and you're prepared to walk. That's the most important thing, isn't it?
I think the biggest mistake thinking from my own life is this need to get laid a lot when I was going through this, learning this stuff. And I would I'd sell my soul to the devil and trade in, let things slide, just wanting to get laid, which it's not a good place to operate from. You're far better off having high levels of self-respect, and it's not being overly, defensive to everything, but not valuing so much banging this one girl. There's plenty more fish in the sea. And if you defile your own integrity and you defile your own self-respect by letting women get away with things when they are being rude, or if she shows up to date 40 minutes late, doesn't apologize, things like this, you're selling your soul to the devil. You're going to feel way worse, even if you fuck her, because you've gone against you, right? So I think it's almost about pushing the bang to one side and being like, okay, let me flirt, let me go in the process, let me flirt, let me banter, let me practice these skills. And almost, I think a great context is this amused mastery of you're the adult masculine and she's almost the little girl. Act like that, like to her, but you're not really taking her really seriously. This is a man's world, but absolutely be prepared to call her on shit, but in a non-butt hurt way. This is where I see clients fuck up a lot, is they start raging and ranting, and that shows a complete lack of emotional strength as well. That's as bad as that's as bad as not calling her out or if she does something disrespectful. If you completely lose your shit, because that shows complete lack of emotional strength, right? And I think again, this meme I keep going on about, but this idea of unfuckwithable, if you Google it, it says nothing anyone can do or says affects me. It's basically Sturcism in a nutshell, but a hardcore version. And so having this in mind, like, you're not really flustered by anything she does or says. You just kind of smirk and brush it off. That's amused mastery in a nutshell. That's how guys should be acting, because guys will kind of then be thinking every situation, shit, what do I do? Just think of yourself as the adult masculine man, and she's almost this kind of little girl. And most of the time, 90% of the time, you're having fun, you're being playful, you're taking it through this roller coaster of emotions, right? But if she steps out of line, a bit like if you had a kid, you wouldn't hesitate to call the kid on it. You'd be like, that's out of line. Sort that out, or stop it, cut it, right?
Yeah.
And if the kid keeps misbehaving, you put him, you do the equivalent of sending him off into his room or her room, but really that's you walking out of the venue and getting rid of it.
There's probably an element of picking your battles as well with this stuff, because like I think sometimes guys get super focused and they're like, right, if I and again, maybe this is one of those things where we slightly contradict ourselves, but it's like, if I make any concession at all, then I'm going to be seen as beta and she's going to disrespect me and it's going to fuck it up. And so they're super anal about it. And I think you've got to, to me, I think you've got to sort of pick your battles a bit. Like some things, it's just not so important. It's like, okay, fine. All right. We will have tiramisu then. We're not going to have the trifle or whatever. Right. I mean, there's certain things you'd be like, okay, fine. But you've got to just take it case by case and figure out, okay, is this something that I actually really need to put my foot down about or not?
Yes, 100%. And this is where we had it with a guy, a client from the Edge, actually, who's asking us questions in advance, and we won't name him. We want to keep the privacy, but there's always lessons which are great to spell out, which is he was being introduced to a girlfriend. He's being introduced to the friend of one of his girlfriends, not a girl he's fucking, just an actual girlfriend. And he was worried. He was like, is this going to make me look beta? Blah, blah, blah. And it's overthinking. This is exactly the point with all this stuff. It's like, you want to take it all and mesh it in, but not go too far any which one way, because then it looks weird. So he's obviously, I think we're in agreement here. He's overthinking this red pill lens, isn't he? When it's probably his friend, who's a girl, just trying to be nice and set him up with someone, right? That's it. And I think.
I think he was worried because he felt like, I'm going to be almost dubbed immediately the beta provider because this guy's just come out of something else, and now I'm going to look like the guy's going to pick up the pieces and be the super nice guy beta provider, and he was worried it was going to put him into that category immediately. But my feeling was, well, no, how you act around her is going to be the thing that puts you in that category. You could be a fucking complete badass, right? She meets you and she's not going to think, oh, he's just the easy beta provider, like but I think the broader point is that we all watch this content, you know, we're all aware of these concepts, or many of us are, and then we can start to get almost too obsessed with it, you know, and too kind of in our head about some things. And a lot of the time it's like, no, you've got to be a human being as well. You've got to kind of just be normal. But if you act as a boss, if you act as the ideal version of yourself with women in all situations, then they're not going to just immediately label you as a simp or a beta male or whatever. They're going to take you as they find you, regardless of how you met or what the situation was.
100%. And I think blow by blow, it's about thinking what's the most attractive, dominant version of myself going to do in this situation, whatever that situation may be, and taking a pause and, you know, responding accordingly, and just practicing that gap between the action or event happening and your response time, and taking the best course of action. Another mistake we see guys making a lot is thinking you have to be this stone cold serial killer, a real cold fish, to be considered a bad boy. This isn't how bad boys operate in our context, or this dark gentleman character we're talking about. They're typically very high in dark triad traits. They're very charming. They make you feel like you're the only person in the room. They make you feel listened to. They're very likable people to be around. Being this caricature of a very cold serial killer bad boy doesn't make you charming. It doesn't make women want to be around you. So this is a mistake we see a lot of guys thinking, oh, I have to be a complete dick to everyone to be a bad boy. No, that's not the case. Your energy, the energy you have internally, right? It's very reflective of, again, it either draws people in or pushes people away. So where you've amalgamated this stuff correctly, in our view, is you're absolutely willing to call girls on their bullshit. You've got strong boundaries. You've got high levels of self-respect, self-love, but you're carrying a very charismatic, playful, light, carefree energy with you, right? And this is the archetype. You can be masculine and dominant, but also playful at the same time. And it's about flipping between these two things. And it doesn't make you a pussy for being friendly, bantering and flirting with the world. Flirting skills, like speaking womanese, as they call it in the industry, is incredibly important. It's something all guys lack. You've got to be practicing flirting and bantering and teasing with women, right? You've got to be able to have fun. Girls just want to have fun, as the great poet Cyndi Lauper said, right? Yeah. So you've got to be able to banter, tease, have fun, be playful. This is a skill sorely lacking in a lot of guys, and this is a skill that a lot of guys don't think they have to learn if you're being the bad boy. That's not true. Bad boys are often extremely charming people, right? They're great salesmen. They're great influencing them.
Yeah, and that comes back to the whole title. You want to be the good bad boy, or I mean, Terrera, I think, used to say the nice bad boy. You know, you want to have that combination of the thing. So she doesn't, you know, you don't want to be complete Patrick Bateman on her, right? You know, she kind of there needs to be that twinkle in the eye. You know, there needs to be. I mean, what are the three elements of charisma? You've got warmth is one of them, isn't it? You've got power, warmth, and what's the other one? But warmth is a key thing. And if you don't have any warmth at all, and you're completely American Psycho about it, then I mean, yeah, no, you're
not very
you're not very likable. That's better than being a nice guy pushover chump, I guess, but it's still limited because
they're not likable either. The key premise here is nice guy pushover chump isn't likable either, because men and women can sense a weakness in him, which isn't attractive because we're just hairless apes. What we should have really called this is the charismatic bad boy. So you encompass the traits of the bad boy, where you've got that inner monster, you know, inner ruthlessness, inner serial killer. Really, if you need to step up to the mark and, you know, call people on their bullshit, you do. And if you need to fucking defend your realm or yourself or your loved ones, you're able to fucking flip into being a violent motherfucker, right? You've got that innate ability, but you're charismatic as fuck most of the time. You're very friendly to be around. You propagate great energy. You flirt with the world. You banter. You tease. That's a good epitome of it for a name, the charismatic bad boy. So rather than the good bad boy, the nice bad boy, that should give guys a bit more insight into how you should be acting. 90% of the time, you absolutely should be present. You know, 3 elements of charisma: presence, so very present, power of now. Get the practical application of the power of now. If you haven't read that book, it's great. It breaks down. It's a newer version of the power of now. It breaks down his principles to actionable steps, which is essentially just remembering to be present. But it's only 2 hours long, or it's really, really good. Power, that comes from, you know, cultivating this inner unfuckwithable mindset, emotional strength, go after your goals, don't act emotionally, have a vision for your life, and relentlessly and ruthlessly go after them, right? That you'll generate internal power from that, and you'll actually, you know, go where you want to go, which is going to lower your self-worth and self-esteem. And then warmth, as you said, is the last one. So that comes down to how do you make people feel? It's not about what you said. It's not about what you did. It's how you made people feel, right? And so you think about how musicians make people feel. You have the notes flowing through you when you're listening to music. You feel a certain way, right? That's persuasion. That's charm. You can do it through your words, but the most effective way is you carry this energy internally. So you've got this unfuckwithable state, which can't be influenced by the outside world. You're in this playful, having fun, interacting with the world, curiosity to the world, almost childlike wonder to the world, right? And this is the state you carry internally. And then when you're interacting with the world, that's how people feel around you. So it's amalgamating these two things together. And many guys just don't understand this. They don't get this right. They think you have to be this really serious cold fish bad boy. That's not what this is.
There's in the chat, there's so Unique79 says, if you have never been told by a woman that you're dangerous, then you're not that guy. Being dangerous is sexy to women. And then Rowan Nutsaxon says, why do you need to be dangerous to get girls? It's more about having good conversation skills and feeling confident. So that is a bit of a sort of misconception, or he's clearly on a bit of an elementary level in terms of the understanding of this stuff, isn't he? Just looking at it through that lens. Is it just about is it just about conversation skills? Is it just about being confident? Well, kind of, but that's a very superficial way of looking at what
it is. But you're going to get strength tested, which is, just think about it from evolution. 3 million years of human evolution. Most of the effective psychological principles for dating are rooted in evolution, right? The strongest men, both physically and emotionally, rose to the top, right?
Yeah.
And they reproduce. So if you can't, it's not about walking around like some pretend tough guy with a knife, but it's about having this inner strength to you where if the shit hits the fan and it kicks off and you're walking with a girl and 3 dudes come out of the corner, what can you fucking defend her, right? And most men, let's be frank, they can't defend her. They don't know how to fight. So I'd say for a lot of guys, being dangerous is learning a combat skill, learning boxing or Muay Thai, and you carry this innate vibe to you that you can handle yourself, and you're less likely to get in trouble because people are less likely to want to start shit with you because you propagate this vibe of being able to defend yourself. So that's what we're talking about when we say be a dangerous man. It's twofold. It's weaponizing your body, so being in good shape and understanding how to fight to a degree, maybe 6 months of a combat sport, and then weaponizing your verbals and your psychological ability to be dominant. Women want to be with someone who they perceive as better than them. That's how hypergamy works. That's how propagation of any species works. Women mate across and upwards. So when we're talking about being dangerous in a psychological context, it's about genuinely believing you're better than these women you're dating. And most of the women I interact with, as I go around the world, I'm 37, right? Most people would argue that's a good age for a man in terms of your kind of market value. But most women I interact with, it doesn't matter how good looking they are, I'm either as good looking or I live a cooler life. And I live a cooler life and I have more money and I have complete freedom of my own time. There's nothing they can really give me which is going to make my life better. And so when I interact with women, I'm putting out this vibe because that's genuinely what I believe. And so women either accept that frame or they reject it, but that's the frame I'm putting out. So I'm trying to, where am I going with this? I think that's just in a nutshell, a few things in a nutsack, talking around a few things that you should be considering when you're trying to be the most attractive person of yourself. It's like at the beginning, we are absolutely faking that we're up to scratch because our lives are a mess. And most guys get into this industry or into watching stuff because they want to basically feel good because their life is shit. But as a man, you have to sort out all the back end stuff and then still be, interacting with women. But women can just tell, they can just tell straight away if a guy actually believes he's better than them, or he's faking it. And a lot of us, we start off faking it, but eventually, if you work on not just the cold approach stuff, the social skills, but all the other areas of your life, you genuinely become more valuable than most women you meet. And so you're not even faking this idea.
Yeah. You definitely change as you grow into the character that you create for yourself, which is kind of what we're trying to teach on the Edge, really, because a big part of the Edge is, okay, map out the character, the archetype that you would ideally like to be, and then act as if you are that character. And we really help with that process during the course of the Edge, which guys, link below. Make sure you join. We're still open at the moment, but we will be closing pretty soon. So make sure that you jump on board. But anyway, yeah, and what you then find, and people say, well, you're pretending to be someone you're not, and blah blah blah. But it's not really like that, because what happens is that you naturally start to work towards being that character that you've envisioned, you know, and then it becomes, it's not faking anymore. It's just literally part of you. It's just how you are. It's a really, really interesting process. And it's like, I think we all often tend to think, oh, I am this type of person, and that's how I'm going to be until I die. So I'm shy. I'm not confident around women. I'm this, I'm that. And that's just it. That's just how I am. It was bad luck. But actually, you can choose not to be like that for periods of time, to be the opposite of that, and then you can grow into being this character that isn't like that at all. You know, I think we all contain multitudes. You know, it's about bringing out the parts of us that are more beneficial to us and to society as a whole, and trying to suppress the sides that are pretty shit.
Yeah, 100% agree. And you can consciously take control of that process.
Yes.
Consciously take control of that process. We're very lucky as men that everything you can want in life can be just developed as a skill, right? So you can learn to flex, you can learn to be more extroverted, you can learn to make money, you can get in better shape at the gym, you can, you know, create a lifestyle that you want to be living and live it. There's no excuse not to be leveling up if you're interested in dating hotter and better women, because you've got to create a reality that women jump into. So if your fucking reality sucks balls, you've got to figure that out, right? No one's going to save you.
Yes, and on that note, we've got Max Paws, who says, jokingly, how do you be the good boy, bad boy food delivery cyclist? Ha ha ha, joke. Don't go nuts, Troy. Yeah, we get enough of Max Paws' tomfoolery on these streams every time. I mean, well, that's the case in point, isn't it? I mean, joking aside, I mean, you've got to shift up your reality, you know.
It's clinging on to this identity of failure, like, but pretending it's a joke. Like, you every stream you come on, Max, you say, oh, by the way, I'm a cycle delivery driver. No one gives a fuck. If you are, own it, great. And if you're not happy with it, get another job. But stop talking about it. It's irrelevant. It's like you're fishing for like sympathy. So you've chosen that fucking job. So either you like it, great, carry on, shamelessly carry on and own it, or just fucking change jobs. But you don't need to mention it every time to us.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and really, you could still be having even doing that, you could still be having a decent dating life. I mean, it's not, you know, it's probably more the way you're coming across when you're not doing the cycle delivery stuff that's the problem, rather than that job. I mean, obviously, yeah, it'd be better to probably have a better job and maybe earn some more money, but you don't even need to mention that, because, like, as we always talk about, you know, we always talk about when people are asking us about work and stuff. I mean, we tend to advise. Well, I certainly tend to advise guys to not focus on what you're doing anyway. You might just say, yeah, I'm doing this temporary thing at the moment. But anyway, more about, you know, tell me more about you. Tell me more about your architecture degree or whatever it is. You know, like, I do the same thing. But now people say, what do you do? I'm like, yeah, I do this online stuff. But anyway, back to you. So what are you saying about your art degree? You know, so the cycle delivery thing is kind of, you don't have to tell them about it anyway. So put that off to one side. The bigger problem is probably how you're coming across, because you mentioned before in another comment that you've done where you got, you know, kind of ghosted for a boring date. The bigger problem is probably that you come across as a bit of a flannel, probably a bit of a boring fucker. And so women aren't being drawn into your universe. And it's not really the bicycle thing at all. That's a peripheral issue.
Yeah. He said that day game still works. May I just lie about my profession until I find a new one, which I'm currently trying to sort out. Well, good for you to sort that out, but still getting laid. But what's the quality of these women you're banging? That's my question. Jack Hunter says, "Hi lads, I was in a monogamous relationship with a hot Romanian 36-year-old. Was dumped recently. Very heartbroken. Please pray for me, guys." Well, we're not going to fucking pray for you, mate. Get out of this victim headspace. Fuck me.
She was too old. She did you a favor.
There's Ukrainian women strapping on armor and being called up to the front line. And you're saying, please pray for me that I got dumped. Fucking sort it out, mate. Man up a bit, literally. Guys will get offended by this, but just fucking wallflowers everywhere. You may not be a wallflower, but it's a very frail comment. Please pay for my soul. Fucking hell. You think you're about to be beheaded by ISIS. Advice to move on. We'll get fucking out there and start sign up to the Edge, because you've got actionable accountability from myself, Troy, and Les to actually get you approaching over 10 weeks. The lifeblood of all of this stuff, dating, is approaching. guys are like, yeah, well, but I can just get on Tinder and leverage my value there. Yeah, how's that working out for you? A, and B, look, you're going to have to learn to flirt and interact with women at some stage. There's no better way to do it than cold approach as a base, right? Because you interact with, you face your own fears, you face your own anxieties, you override it, you go up to it, you flirt, you banter, you tease. These are such phenomenal skill sets to learn for life. They're the epitome of charisma, right? And everything you can want in life is accessible through human beings. You're learning to interact with the world in a charismatic way. So it's the lifeblood of all of us. So sign up to the Edge. £579. It's still open. Click on the link, below this video, and you can go straight through, and you get us basically getting you out there cold approaching over 10 weeks, and we level up your value in different areas. Yeah, as Troy says, jokingly, let's be frank. I don't know how old you are, but 36. If you're a man of around that age, she's well past her prime. A woman's prime is 22, 23, right? So I wouldn't be too upset about it. If you've developed yourself into an attractive man with options, you won't have any problems going out and finding a new one, because there's billions of single women.
36 is getting dangerously close to 40, put it that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's, I mean, I'm sure she still looks beautiful and everything else, but and there are different opinions on this, because I've got a couple of guys in my WhatsApp group at the moment who are boasting about the women that they're, well, I mean, we know Mr. Tybo, he's gone for an older lady, and there's another dude in my chat who's boasting about this woman in her 50s and how amazing and great she is and everything. And listen, different strokes for different folks, but the reality is, I think for most guys, if you're honest with yourself, and I understand some guys like older women, that's cool, but when you look at the charts from OK,
I'm just going to call it as it is. I think it's a fucking cop out. I think it's guys that can't be laid or have scarcity mindset go for older women because they think, this will be a bit more easier.
If you look at the data that came out from OkCupid, the age that was most fancied was 23. So regardless of the age of the guy, so the guy's 23, he likes 23-year-olds. The guy's 27, he likes 23-year-olds. The guy's 45, he likes 23-year-olds. It remains static for guys. We like women in their peak fertility, which is basically early 20s. So
yeah, a billion wicked thoughts, right? Great book to read for guys because it gives you objective data. 1 billion internet searches on porn, 500 million women, 500 million men. Extrapolates the data from the big porn companies, lays it out. What's the most prevalent search term for men online with porn? Hot young teen, right? Evolution doesn't lie. There's no point fucking sugarcoating it. Women between 18 and 23 are the most evolutionarily attractive to the male species. It's based on fertility cues and reproduction. There's nothing moral about it. Guys get all butt hurt when they're like, oh, yeah, but my bird's really hot. It's like, yeah, fine. If you're happy with it, great. But realize that on an evolutionary basis, if you're operating purely from evolution because you're a hairless ape, that actually women between the age of 18 and 23 are most attractive to you. If you you had a group of women, you're going to get hardest and want to bang them most on a sensual level. Now, whether you act on that, whatever. But the thing is, the issue men have is they feel they can't get these women because deep down in their brain, they know these are the hottest property women. They know they have the most competition for these women. And so they know they can't get them because they haven't leveled up in their life. So they settle. And settling in life is extremely dangerous. He said he's 34, that Hunter. She's 36, mate. I mean, she's well past it. The fact she dumped your ass as well means you've lost frame. And, you weren't handling the relationship correctly. So there's a lot to work on here, clearly. But this is exactly what the Edge course was made for. Sign up. It's £579. It's fuck all for a 10-week course. If you vibe with our content and you like watching us, this is the key to the kingdom to get you out there approaching and taking action.
Yeah. So Max says,
I'm 24. Is it too late for 19-year-olds? We've got a black pill Japanese and Mackie roll.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, it's not too old. Don't worry. I mean, Max was saying Cupid also shows women will only want to date 3 to 5 years older guys. I mean, this is a perennial argument that goes on the whole fucking time as well. I mean, you see, how do we differentiate between these two things? I think intuitively as a guy, intuitively as a guy, the statistic that men like women who are in their early 20s, that makes sense to me on a very basic evolutionary level, right? And I think most of us, if we're honest, we would probably agree with that. I mean, there's a good reason why when the Sun newspaper used to have, years ago, when they used to have the page 3 girl, it was always a woman who was like from her late teens through to her early 20s. It wasn't, they weren't having like 36-year-olds on there. They weren't having 44-year-olds on there, you know? So I think we all
And
kind of know.
25 in the world of porn, 25 is considered basic.
Yeah, well, you have to start doing MILF after about 25. You have to start doing MILF porn. However, this thing about women only wanting guys 3 to 5 years older, that's never been my experience, and it's not been the experience of many, many other guys that I know who are
it's fucking bullshit.
older.
It's absolutely bullshit. I mean, you're a good example of a guy who,
Yeah.
you're now, approaching the mid-century, and you're banging women literally less than half your age. So
yeah, what they say on a dating app, yeah, okay, fine. I mean, on dating apps, yes, maybe they are screening, and also what they may, there are cultural differences here too, because obviously a woman in England is probably going to have different ideas about this to a woman in Ukraine. So there are a number of different factors to this, but I mean, in general, I would say a large minority of women like older guys, and actually would get into something with a guy who's quite significantly older, actually. It's more they wouldn't necessarily wake up in the morning and say, yeah, I want a guy who's 18 years older than me. But if that guy approached them and he was attractive and he came over in the right way, would she consider it? Yeah, probably. You know what I mean? So there's a difference between what people say and what they actually do.
No black pill here, only when watching Aaron Clary. Why does he trigger Mackie Roll to be black pill, Troy? You know Aaron Clary.
I don't know. He's pretty down about the dating marketplace, but rightly so. But he does agree. I think, well, he's got a long-term girlfriend, I think. But the thing is, he does agree that cold approach is the way through, though, because he's got some book the Book of Numbers, where he talks about how unlikely it is that you'll ever find a high-quality woman for a wife. But what he does say is the way to really, really fucking hack the system is to do a shitload of cold approach, because then when you're doing proactive action, you're opening yourself up to so many opportunities that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
That's interesting. I like it. So,
yeah.
I mean, what we would the only counterpoint to that I would probably make is a lot of these dudes are speaking from Anglosphere, basically having not left the US experience. When you are willing to get on a plane and travel, the world is your dating oyster, honestly. Like, you can fucking roll around and just approach women left, right, and center and go on dates, hundreds and hundreds of dates around the world. Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, Russia, Ukraine, Serbia, Poland, these places you travel to, the options are limitless when you're just willing to think slightly outside the box geographically.
Yeah. I mean, Max, Jesus Christ. To be honest, I've caught a few gems, which is unbelievably lucky. Best women I've had. But yeah, most are fat and in their 40s. I mean, mate, you're 33. I mean, Jesus Christ. You need to join the fucking edge. You seriously need to join the fucking edge, because this is just unacceptable. I mean, when I was 33, I certainly wasn't.
Really. It all comes down to leveling up your standards and having self-respect, right?
Yeah, I mean, even now, if it came down to the choice of like, right, I'm going to be celibate forever, or I'm going to be banging these women who are fat and older than I would like, I'd just be celibate. I really would. I'd just be like, okay, right, Pornhub, here we go. This is it. Like, I literally wouldn't bother. It's just not the juice would not be worth the squeeze. So the fact that if these are your options and you're in your early 30s, it's a very poor state of affairs, mate. You really need to get it fucking sorted out. It's pathetic, and there's no reason for it. I mean, the reason is going to be how you're coming across, how you're presenting yourself, etc., etc. And that's what we take care of in the edge. So you really need to jump on board, man, because this is it's just not good, mate. It really isn't.
He said, I would love to join the edge. I hope you do the course again one day where I've sorted stuff out. No. You've shown you can't sort stuff out for yourself. So get on the fucking course and we'll help you sort it out. You can't, you're 33, you can't troubleshoot your way to victory with this, as you've proven. So no, get on the fucking edge. And if you can't afford 500 quid, man, that's a pathetic state of affairs as well. So if you're watching this and you can't afford the entry for the edge, which is deliberately low to allow guys to come in, take a good hard look at yourselves in the mirror and sort out your finances, because it's pathetic if you haven't got 500 quid to spare on something. Yeah.
Well, there's no something that's going to actually improve the quality of your life, I mean.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Any other points that we want to cover here?
Victim mindsets in the chat room. Yes, I agree with Unique 79, but you're one of the classic come onto the streams, comment, and then take no action as well. So again, same proposition to you, sir. Sign up to the Edge and put your money where your mouth is and actually take some action and use us. Use our 25 years of experience, which we've distilled into this course, into making your own life better. Put your own oxygen mask on first. So, you know, I would say you're a classic dude who loves watching the content but doesn't take action. So get onto the Edge yourself, you know, click on the link below this video afterwards, sign up. It's still open, registration still open.
Because a lot of this stuff is fixable. That's the beauty of it. A lot of this stuff genuinely is fixable. A lot of it is down to, as woolly as it sounds, a lot of it's down to mindset. It's down to how you view yourself, and it's down to how you project to the world. And those things you can change. You know, you really can. But you have to know what you're doing, or you have to have somebody to look at you and say, right, this is where it's going wrong. This is what you need to do. Yeah.
On that cheerful note, we will be back later this week. We'll try and select a couple of more topics that are kind of prevalent to the Edge, and also are kind of themes that come up time and again. So stay tuned. We'll probably be with you tomorrow, actually, Tuesday. I am on other memberships on here because you both give priceless knowledge. Well, if our knowledge is so priceless, then work with us instead of these other memberships, whatever that is. Or does he mean he's working with you?
I don't think so. No, not as far as I know. Okay. So no, mate. You know, I mean,
it's the most. The Edge is the most. It's the best course we've ever released. The Edge 3. We've learned from our mistakes on the two previous edges. We've growth mindseted it. It's not just Troy. It's Les and me as well. And it's a really fucking sick course because it encompasses all of the key pillars that you need to level up as a man, you know, to increase your market value, sexual market value, as well as then giving you accountability and actionable steps to approach over 10 weeks. It's remarkably good value, you know, for what we usually charge.
And no one else is really no one else is really doing. No one else is teaching all of this stuff in conjunction.
So forget your other memberships. They're weak as fuck because you're sat watching our content on every fucking stream. So you're obviously not happy with the content you're getting from other people, all these memberships. Doesn't matter what it is, and sign up to our course. And if you can't afford 500 quid, go and sort out your finances, because that's a sorry state of affairs for an adult male, right? So if you think we give priceless knowledge, sign up to the Edge below. It's very simple. And we'll see you there, and we'll level up your life. And after March the 14th, we run that for 10 weeks, and you'll come back to us going, "Fuck, that was amazing." Really thankful for that. You know, the times of being all nice and soft with these clowns, Mr. Francis, is over in my book. It's tough love, as old Wes Watson says. The highest form of love is honesty. So we're not here to sugarcoat it. We're here to call it as it is. And I think a lot of these dudes, you guys on the chat, you need to have a good hard look in the mirror and just think, am I really where I want to be with this one fleeting existence I have, right? 1 in 400 trillion is the odds of you being born you. Am I really playing this character to the best of its ability in every aspect? Because I guarantee you every single guy on this chat is not. And we can help you level up. So you're not alone in this process, but you have to actually fucking invest. We're running a business here. 579 quid for 10 weeks for us is nothing. And if you really can't afford that, then go and work on your finance and stop watching pickup content, because it's really not a priority.
Absolutely, indeed. Well, on that note, let's call this one to an end for now. As you said, we'll be back on. We might be able to do tomorrow, or we'll certainly be doing some stuff this week. We'll have some other juicy topics. So, yeah, thanks to everyone for tuning in. And join the Edge. The link is below, and I've also spammed it in the chat as well.
Good stuff.
See you later.